All right, welcome everyone. Today we're going to be taking a deep dive into the world of cross-dressing.
Ooh, interesting.
Specifically, we're going to be focusing on why so many individuals don't end up coming out till later in life.
Cool.
We'll be exploring an article called Exploring Why Many Crossdressers Don't Come Out Until Later in Life. And, one of the things that really stood out to me is that it's not just about clothes, it's this whole complex thing about like societal pressures and self-discovery.
Right, like society hands you this rule book, on how to be a man or a woman. And if you don't fit into those boxes, it's like this pressure cooker almost.
I like that analogy, the pressure cooker.
Yeah, it's a struggle between wanting to express yourself, but also like the fear of being judged and rejected.
Yeah. And I imagine that fear keeps so many people, in the closet for years.
Decades even.
Yeah. And it comes from those early experiences, right?
Yeah. I mean, the article shares some stories about people being teased as children for expressing themselves differently.
Oh.
And that can be a powerful force.
Yeah, almost like a scar that stays with you.
And then the internet comes along.
Right, the internet.
This whole world opens up,
Yeah.
right? Suddenly there's this connection, there's support.
For someone who's felt alone for years.
Yeah, isolated.
It could be a lifeline.
Online communities become safe havens,
I see that.
where people can connect and share resources and just feel seen.
Not just seen, but
Celebrated.
celebrated, yeah. So I can only imagine how empowering that must feel for someone.
Huge. And
Oh.
beyond that even, the internet even offers practical solutions.
Oh, how so?
Well, the article highlights e-commerce,
Uh-huh.
the ability for people to access clothing and resources discreetly and privately.
Right. It makes you wonder how different things would have been,
A generation ago,
Yeah, like for our parents even.
totally a different landscape.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about the self-discovery part of this.
Yeah.
The article describes it as an emotional roller coaster. What are some of those feelings that people go through?
Well, it often starts small, maybe trying on a piece of clothing in secret.
Okay.
And there's this like mix of excitement, but also fear, maybe some guilt. And then there's like this exhilaration.
Wow, so many conflicting emotions.
Yeah. It's not a straightforward path. It's a gradual exploration.
And even in those early stages, even if it's secret, do people still find joy in that?
The article talks about moments of pure joy and authenticity.
Uh-huh.
It's like catching a glimpse of who they really are, even if they're not ready to fully embrace it yet.
So if those feelings are there early on, why do so many people wait, until later in life to actually come out?
Yeah, why wait?
Is it just societal pressure or is there something else?
It's a few things. The article points to a few reasons.
Okay.
Well, as we get older, we get more resilient,
Mm-hmm.
emotionally, financially.
Makes sense.
We've hit those milestones, career, family, stability.
Right, checking off the boxes.
And we realize time is precious.
It is
And that fear of regret, of not, living your truth,
a powerful motivator.
can really push people forward.
Okay, so it's like you've done what society expected. Now it's time for you.
Yeah.
Makes sense. But what about the challenges of coming out later in life?
Yeah.
Imagine having those conversations with loved ones
Tough conversation.
who have known you for years.
Absolutely. The article acknowledges those challenges.
Okay.
Coming out can be a shock. It takes time to adjust.
Right.
Relationships can be strained.
Yeah.
There needs to be a lot of open communication and understanding.
A lot of patience, probably.
For sure.
On everyone's part. But the article also talks about, despite those challenges,
Huh?
the rewards.
Yeah.
Tell me about those.
Imagine finally being able to live authentically,
Wow.
shedding those years of hiding.
Yeah.
The article talks about this huge sense of relief,
Oh,
improved mental health, and just this like overall happiness,
that sounds amazing.
like stepping into the sunlight after years in the shadows.
Beautiful. And even if, someone chooses to only cross-dress periodically,
Yeah.
can they still get benefits from that?
Huge benefits. It's about honoring that part of yourself,
I see.
even if it's not something you express all the time.
So it's not about becoming a different person.
Right.
It's about integrating it into your life.
Exactly.
Okay. And this journey of self-acceptance, does that involve, seeking support?
Often.
Yeah.
Like what kind of support?
Could be therapy, could be online communities, local groups
Yeah.
where people can connect and share their experiences.
Like finding your tribe.
Exactly, your people.
People who get it.
Uh-huh. And the article emphasizes education
Oh,
for both the individual and their loved ones.
Interesting.
Sharing resources, having those open conversations
Yeah.
can make all the difference.
So turning those difficult conversations into opportunities to grow.
Exactly. And remember, everyone's journey is unique.
That's a good point.
No right or wrong way to navigate this. This has been so insightful. We've covered a lot already.
Yeah, we have.
From the societal pressures to those incredible rewards, but there's so much more to unpack.
Oh, yeah.
Stay tuned for part 2, where we'll be exploring all those resources available to help you on your journey.
Sounds good. So, diving right back into those resources, the article really highlights supportive communities, online forums and groups especially.
Makes sense, right? Like finding people who understand what you're going through. It can be huge.
Absolutely.
But it's interesting how the internet itself has been both good and bad for this community.
Yeah, it really is a double-edged sword.
In what way?
Well, on one hand, there's a lot of misinformation out there.
Right.
And harmful stereotypes that can actually make things worse, But then on the other hand, you have this incredible tool for connecting with others, sharing stories and finding good information too.
So it's like navigating a minefield, but there are those gems in there.
Exactly. You gotta be careful.
Yeah.
The article actually mentions some specific online communities.
Oh, really?
Known for being safe spaces for crossdressers.
That's good.
Yeah, these forums allow people to share advice, ask questions, even just vent about their frustrations.
That's so important.
Stuff they deal with every day.
Especially if they're feeling isolated.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't know where to turn.
And then there's e-commerce too, can't forget that.
Oh, right, yeah.
The article points out how online shopping has made it so much easier to access clothing and resources discreetly.
Right.
Which can be a big relief for some people.
It kind of removes those barriers to entry.
Yeah. Exactly. Makes it easier to experiment.
But even with all those resources out there coming out, especially later in life, it can still be really tough, especially with loved ones.
For sure. Those relationships will be tricky.
So what does the article say about navigating those conversations in a healthy way?
Well, it's all about communication. Open and honest communication.
Oh, right.
Start by finding those people in your life that you really trust.
Okay.
Maybe a close friend or a family member who will be supportive.
So build a little support system.
Yeah, have those people in your corner before you have those tougher conversations.
That makes sense.
And it's important to remember that coming out is a process. For both you and your loved ones, it might take time for them to adjust.
Yeah.
And, it's okay to have those difficult conversations. Just approach them with patience.
And empathy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you don't have to share everything at once.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah, set those boundaries. What are you comfortable talking about?
Right.
And if those conversations are too tough, don't be afraid to seek professional help.
Oh, like a therapist.
Exactly. Therapists who specialize in gender identity.
Okay.
It can be so helpful both for you and your family.
Finding those allies, those people who can guide you.
Yeah, your support system. And the article mentioned some specific organizations too.
Oh, like what?
PFLAG, Parents, Families, and Friends of Lesbians and Gays.
Oh, I've heard of them.
Yeah, they offer support groups. They have educational materials. It's a great resource for everyone involved.
So it's like a roadmap.
Kind of.
For navigating this new world.
And it's not just about finding support for yourself either.
Me neither.
The article also talks about educating loved ones about cross-dressing.
Oh, okay.
So sharing resources, books, articles, maybe even this deep dive.
Right.
It can help bridge that understanding gap.
And create that open dialogue.
Exactly. And as more people get educated,
Yeah.
the stigma starts to fade.
That's what we want.
We've talked about the challenges, but let's not forget about those rewards.
The rewards of coming out.
Yeah, that relief, that freedom.
Freedom to be yourself.
Exactly. The article talks about better mental health,
Okay.
a stronger sense of self, and just overall happiness.
And I bet it can inspire others, too.
Oh, totally. The more people see others living authentically, the more it challenges those old norms,
Right. Makes it easier for others to do the same.
Exactly. It creates this ripple effect.
A cycle of understanding and acceptance.
That's the goal.
So each person who comes out makes it a little easier for the next.
Paves the way. And that ties back to the article's main point.
Okay.
This journey, it's ongoing.
Makes sense.
Both for individuals and for society.
All right, so we've talked about the internal struggles, the societal pressures,
Yeah.
the challenges, the rewards, but there's one thing we haven't talked about yet.
What's that?
The future.
Oh, the future.
What does the future hold for this community?
Good question.
Join us for the final part of this deep dive, where we'll explore that very question. All right, welcome back for the final part of our deep dive. So we've talked about the personal journeys, the challenges, the rewards.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground.
But what about the future? What does the article say about where things are headed for, the cross-dressing community?
Well, it kind of hints at a future where coming out might not be such a big deal anymore.
Oh, interesting.
As society becomes more understanding, it'll be less about this grand announcement
I see.
and more about just living authentically.
So not this pressure to, like, make a statement.
Exactly. More integrated into everyday life.
But realistically, how do we get there?
Well, the article keeps coming back to education.
Right. Makes sense.
The more we learn and teach others about gender identity and expression, the more we break down those stereotypes and create a space for acceptance.
It's about those everyday conversations too, right?
Oh, absolutely. Challenging those outdated ideas.
Yeah, pushing for a more inclusive society.
Where everyone feels safe to be themselves.
That's a great vision. But for someone who's, going through this right now,
Yeah.
maybe feeling those pressures,
What can they do?
what advice does the article offer?
Be kind to yourself. It's a journey, not a race. Find your pace. Connect with those supportive communities and celebrate every step you take.
You're not alone in this, and there's so much support out there.
The article ends with a really beautiful message.
Oh, what's that?
Every step towards self-acceptance is a victory. It's never too late to embrace who you are.
Powerful stuff. And that wraps up our deep dive into the world of cross-dressing later in life.
Yeah, hope everyone learned something.
We've explored so much, the personal journeys, the societal hurdles, the future.
All of it.
And most importantly, the incredible strength it takes to be your true self.
No matter what.
Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time for another deep dive.